and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Aditya Raj Kaul. Over 15 years ago, when you confronted Mr. Gilani, you asked a very uncomfortable question, and that was a time when these conversations were not there.
You know, I know that Syed Ali Shah Gilani only works for his masters across the water. Till date, he has not shut Lal Chowk or organized a protest for the return of Kashmiri Pandits or for the justice to Kashmiri Pandits.
Present day situation, and we see a lot of reports on the government. The constant conversation we hear from Kashmir is that yes, we want the Pandits back.
If you had asked me this question before 5th August 2019, I would have said there is no scope of Kashmiri Pandits' return. For the first time, you are witnessing tricolour all across the valley, not just at police stations and government buildings. You know, I'll tell you very honestly, I still don't feel safe in Kashmir. And that's because I'm a minority and I still feel that I'm not accepted. You know, they see this Hindu thread and then they see me speaking in Kashmiri even better than them. They are stunned and they're surprised and they say, who are you? You look like an alien to us.
When we talk about Pahalgam, I don't want to use the term intelligence failure, but can we say it's like it was a lag, and when Operation Sindoor finally takes place?
I believe that it's an intelligence and a security failure for sure.
Okay.
And there was a commando of the Pakistan army who was involved in the Pahalgam terror attack. I mean, today I don't feel much difference between a terrorist and the Pakistan army. I mean, Asim Munir is the mastermind of all terrorists.
General Asim Munir being able to cozy up to the US. What exactly is going on in the American policy making? Is Mr. Trump listening to his advisors, or is he not?
Almost 40 or 4 times has said that it was the US which mediated and brought the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. They had a phone call for 35 minutes in which the Trump requested Modi that you please come to Washington DC and we have a photo op with Asim Munir. And Modi refused to do so.
You personally met Mr. Netanyahu. What exactly are the Israelis thinking and what are they planning?
One thing is very clear, that they will not rest.
Welcome to the new episode of Jan Mangan. I'm Pratik, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Aditya Raj Kaul. Mr. Aditya Raj Kaul is a journalist with an experience of around 2 decades, and he's a leading voice on national security and foreign affairs. And Aditya's journalism, Aditya's work on national security has been widely known nationally and internationally. Today we'll discuss interesting and very important perspectives on national security. Thank you so much, Aditya. Let's start with your introduction. Let's start with your initial years with journalism. We, as a generation who grew up listening to national security conversations, we have a very fresh image of you, and it's around, I think, over 15 years ago when you confronted Mr. Gilani. You asked a very uncomfortable question, and that was a time when these conversations were not there. What was the impact when you went home? Did your family, did your friends react to that? Did you face anything personally? Please let us know about it.
Well, I think this is back in 2008 or 2009. And India Today was organizing its annual conclave. It still does. At that time, they had invited Gilani as one of the speakers. The other 2 speakers were Farooq Abdullah and the current governor of Bihar. While the current governor of Bihar and Farooq Abdullah made very balanced statements, Gilani is of course known to be a rabble rouser. He's not alive anymore, but he was one of the most hawkish and hardline separatists. And I was young. I was at the cusp of joining journalism and, ending college. And during my college days, I had found a group called Roots in Kashmir. And it was an advocacy group for the Kashmiri Pandits to espouse their cause and to get justice. And one of our aims was to counter all these radical separatists from Gilani to Yasin Malik to Mirwais to Shabir Shah whenever they used to come to Delhi. Not by using violence, but by using pen, by using our voice, and to protest logically with a very pragmatic approach. And when I heard that Gilani was there was a protest that was organized outside the venue of the India Today conclave, but it so happened that I received an invitation from Mr. Arun Puri to attend that conclave. Not only did I receive an invitation, but while that particular session, an hour-long session with over an audience of more than 1,000, it was about to end. Suddenly, I heard my name from the stage. Mr. Manoj Joshi, who was a senior journalist, suddenly said that I think we have a gentleman called Mr. Aditya Raj Kaul in the audience, and we would like him to ask a question. I was surprised and stunned, but later I was told that Arun Puri, in fact, told Manoj Joshi to let me also be a voice, because the Kashmiri Pandits certainly did not have a voice in that entire session on Kashmir. And I stood up and I said that I don't have a question for him, because I know his ideology, I know what he stands for. And I said that, I know that Syed Ali Shah Gilani only works for his masters across the border. Till date, he has not shut Lal Chowk or organized a protest for the return of Kashmiri Pandits, or for the justice to Kashmiri Pandits, or to arrest and convict terrorists like Yasin Malik, who are responsible for the carnage in the massacre. Suddenly, within minutes, this clip was aired on Aaj Tak and India Today.
Right.
And it's been 15 years or more, and it's still viral.
Yes.
So it happened very naturally. And since then, we've done whatever possible to counter these radical separatists, and here we are. I mean, we might have done just a drop in the ocean, but I think that resulted in a complete change in the Kashmir Valley. You've seen the nullification of 370 now.
Right.
You've seen the separatists, both the Hurriyat and JKLF, on their deathbed, and we see a Naya Kashmir today.
Right. And did your friends, did your family members, did they say anything? Or
well, obviously they were afraid.
They were afraid.
But I think they had an experience of this, because back in 2006, I had started the Priyadarshini Mattoo campaign.
Right.
And that also happened, I was giving my board examinations. I was not a very studious person. And my last exam was of psychology, which I was really not interested in. And I read the Indian Express newspaper where Chamanlal Mattoo's interview was that when will the wheels of justice move? Because it's been 10 years that my daughter was raped and murdered, and there's been no justice.
What is the Priyadarshini Mattoo case? Because we have a lot of young audience. They would be very interested in knowing. And how did you come to be associated with the case?
Well, in the mid-90s, a 25-year-old Priyadarshini Mattoo was a student of the Delhi University's law faculty.
Right.
She was harassed, teased, stalked by a person named Santosh Kumar Singh, who was her super senior from the same law faculty. He was the son of a very senior cop, police officer in the Delhi police, who later went on to become the DGP of the Goa police and a senior police official here in Delhi as well. And while the stalking and everything continued, he gave a lot of written explanations to Delhi police that he will not do so again. But ultimately, one fine day, unfortunately, in January, I think it was the mid-90s, around 95, that he entered her house in Vasant Kunj of Delhi and raped her and murdered her very, very brutally. The lower court, where the trial was on, said that though we know that he is the man who has committed the crime, but for want of evidence, we release him. So there was no evidence and he was released. In 2006, when I read this Indian Express article or an interview by Chamanlal Mattoo, and I later heard him on a news channel, I was really moved. And I was just about 16 years old at that time. So I decided to write a petition. Those days, there was no social media. There was something called Orkut. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, it was a social
Orkut was a rage. So there was this website called petitiononline.com, an American website. These days, change.org is very famous.
Yes.
But those days, social media wasn't there. So I wrote a petition to the Chief Justice and the President of India. And suddenly it became viral. And the NDTV contacted me. They did a story on me. Later, CNN News 18 contacted me. They did a story on me. And the story again became a national rage that when a 16-year-old can realize that injustice has been done, why can't the judiciary? Why can't the investigative agencies? Why can't the government? And I was literally pushed by people to start a campaign because I was a 16-year-old.
Right.
I didn't know what activism or social activism really is. So we started a campaign, Justice for Priyadarshini Mattoo. We organized a protest in which around 5,000 to 10,000 people participated in Jantar Mantar. We had a national campaign. And in that campaign, the very next day of the protest, the Delhi High Court took a suo motu cognizance and put the case on fast trial. So the man who was free for the last 10 years after committing the most heinous crime, got death sentence.
Okay.
Imagine. But he obviously appealed in the Supreme Court of India, and this was October 2006 when he got death sentence. By 2010, the Supreme Court reduced that to life sentence.
Okay.
So today he continues to be in jail, but this case became my claim to fame.
Right.
That at 16 I started this campaign, and even only after this I started Roots in Kashmir, for advocacy of Kashmiri Pandits and their cause, and started tackling radical separatists and getting threats from them.
You are vociferously advocating a lot of causes, even 2 decades down the line. We have seen your recent posts, Twitter posts on the Sarla Bhatt case. Can you explain us what is the Sarla Bhatt case and why it should be given the limelight that it deserves?
See, firstly, Pratik, I'll tell you that the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Kashmiri Hindus began in 89-90. It began with the killing of a person called Tikilal Teplu, who was a senior advocate, and he was the vice president of the BJP.
Right.
He was brutally killed by the JKLF terrorists. Later, around 19 January 1990, my family, along with thousands of other Kashmiri Hindus, received death threats. We had hundreds and hundreds of mobsters and Islamist radicals protesting outside our houses, almost willing to kill us, to lynch us. There were slogans from the mosques in the valley saying that Kashmiri Hindu men should leave and they should leave behind their women. There was a very frightening slogan, Relive, Galiv or Salif. Relive meaning either you convert. Galiv means if you either die or you'll be killed. Salif means you need to leave or you need to be expelled from this place. And there were slogans like Yahan kya chalega, Nizam-e-Mustafa, and all these slogans. So my family left the same night, as did thousands of Kashmiri Hindus, and that became one of the most brutal chapters of the Kashmiri Hindu genocide and ethnic cleansing. Sarla Bhatt was one of the victims. Around 14th of April in 1990, she was brave. She decided not to leave the valley. So she continued in the medical institute in Saura, which is very popular even today. And the JKLF terrorists thought that she is a police informer because she had apparently heard a conversation between a top terrorist commander of the JKLF, Hamid Sheikh, and Ahad Guru, who was a surgeon at the hospital but also a radical terrorist. And they feared that she might leak this kind of a critical information to the police. So they kidnapped her, they gang raped her, and they killed her. And there were brutal torture marks all over her body. Her bullet-ridden body was found on a thoroughfare around that entire place. Now imagine, it's been 35 years that there's been no justice, there's been no investigation, there's not a single arrest that's been made in this case. And this is just one of the thousands of cases of Kashmiri Hindus where no justice has been delivered. Now look at parallelly with the massacre of Sikh community that happened in Delhi, where some say 3,000, some say 25,000, I don't know the number, that many Sikh community members were brutally lynched and killed on the streets. There are brutal photographs and videos out there. But their cases are still underway. There's been retrial in many cases. There are cases and convictions that have been slapped against Jagdish Titler, Sajjan Kumar of the Congress party for the crimes against humanity that they made. Look at Godhra. There have been convictions in the case. Many of the people have served their sentence as well. So if the Muslims of India, if the Sikh community of India can be delivered justice, why can't the Hindus? On 2 separate occasions in the last decade, the Supreme Court of India has rejected, our submission where we requested that a commission of inquiry should be set up to look into what really happened and coin a term. Is it ethnic cleansing? Is it genocide? Is it fourth exodus? What is it? Because the government terminology tells us migrants. We are not migrants. I mean, migrants are migratory birds that come from one area to other. Migrants are those people from Bihar, UP or the rest of India that come to Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore or other places for better livelihood. We had no option. We had our ancestral land in the Kashmir Valley and that was snatched away completely. I mean, our temples were destroyed, were completely desecrated. Our houses were burnt. In the mid-90s, I'll tell you, Doordarshan aired a documentary on my great-grandfather, Master Samsar Chand Kaul, who was the first ornithologist of Asia. And he had written over a dozen books on Kashmir, from beautiful valleys of Kashmir and Ladakh, to birds of Kashmir, to Srinagar and its environs. I mean, several of them, even on the mysterious cave of Amarnath, on the mysterious spring of Kheer Bhavani. And he was a geography teacher at the very famous CMS Tyndall Visco School. So when Doordarshan aired a documentary on him, his life, and the massive book library that he had at his house in Ranawari in Srinagar, and the artifacts that he had collected, the same day Islamist radicals burned the entire house. It was a 200-year-old house. It was completely burned. We had not been able to get any, goods or things from there out, because we had left in midnight without anything. The only thing that my parents and family carried from our home was our temple. In Kashmiri, we called it Thokurkut. And our photo albums and certificates. These are the only three things that they carried. Nothing else. So the entire house was gutted. Everything snatched away, taken away. And this is the story of thousands and thousands of Kashmiri Hindus even today.
My question is on the present day situation. And we see a lot of reports on the government making a lot of promises and doing arrangements to ensure the safe return of the Kashmiri Pandits. Can you tell us, based on your visits, your personal experiences, has the Kashmir Valley changed from the 90s to now? Do the Kashmiri Pandits feel safe? And what exactly is to be done to ensure their safe return? Because the constant conversation we hear from Kashmir is that, yes, we want the Pandits back, but they need to come back. So please tell us about the internal dynamics. That what is there something which is stopping the Kashmiri Pandits to return back? How does it play out?
See, firstly, I'll tell you that I commend the efforts of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah, who took the courage and the stand to nullify Article 370. I divide this Kashmir into before Article 370 and post Article 370. If you had asked me this question before 5th August 2019, I would have said there is no scope of Kashmiri Pandits' return. There is no scope of Kashmir changing to normalcy. There is no scope of terrorism ending. There is no scope of mindset in the Kashmiris changing. But with one step of Article 370 and 35A being nullified, I think anything is possible.
Okay.
Now, anything is not possible overnight. But certainly, if we have a sustained effort, if we bring in consistency in our policy, then certainly anything is possible.
Okay.
Of course, there's been a dramatic change in the Kashmir Valley. I've been visiting Kashmir continuously since 2013.
Okay.
I've covered most of the terror attacks that have happened, from Uri to down in Punjab, Pathankot, to Nagrota, to Pulwama, and now to Pahalgam. I see a massive change in the form of the public opinion. I see fear in the minds of those who supported radical separatists. I see change in the editorial columns of Greater Kashmir and Rising Kashmir, who earlier one would have thought are being printed from Rawalpindi. So today there is some semblance of journalism or neutrality that is visible. We also see that the ecosystem of terror that had developed and was being nurtured over the years in Kashmir has been destroyed almost completely. There are some last elements that are still left, but there's much more that the government of India needs to do. I mean, imagine, Prateek, that for the first time you are witnessing tricolor all across the valley, not just at police stations and government buildings, at the city center, in the heart of the Lal Chowk on the clock tower, where Pakistani flags used to flourish when the radical separatists of Hurriyat and JKLF used to protest, shut down the Lal Chowk, shut down the schools and colleges, not let the normal life of Kashmiris be, continue, and completely impact them. And there's a wide difference today. Tourism has been at its peak, and that's why the common Kashmiris are upset today. I mean, the dramatic change that you might have also witnessed, Prateek, is that for the first time, many Kashmiris came out and protested, and they demanded justice and were almost abusing Pakistan. Why did this happen? This happened because for the first time in the last 6 months, Kashmiris have tasted peace. They have tasted how normalcy really looks like. They have tasted how economic development and economic prosperity can completely transform and change their lives. Now when the Pahalgam happened, the tourism figures dropped.
Yes.
There was nobody in the flights. There were nobody in the cars or luxury cars visiting Pahalgam, Gulmarg, or all other places. So there was economic trouble for the common Kashmiris. So they realized that nobody believes that Pakistan is going to do anything positive for the Kashmiris. So this realization is now trying to trickle down in the common Kashmiris. So in my personal visits, obviously, I'll tell you very honestly, I still don't feel safe in Kashmir. And that's because I'm a minority and I still feel that I'm not accepted. And I'll tell you that a former chief secretary of Jammu and Kashmir, I'll not name him, he told me once that, Aditya, if you feel that there is even a single person in Kashmir who wants you or your community back, then you're living in a fool's paradise. And this is only because there's been a complete brainwashing that has happened. Also, the Kashmiri Muslims haven't lived in the last 35 years with Kashmiri Pandits. They don't know how to live in that kind of a culture where a separate religion or a separate community can coexist with you. So there's multiple generations that have come up which do not know. I mean, when I travel to Kashmir and they see this Hindu thread and then they see me speaking in Kashmiri even better than them, they are stunned and they're surprised and they say, who are you? You look like an alien to us. You look like us, but how can you speak so fluent Kashmiri? So, this is the tragedy of the day, but this is the reality. So I don't feel that the return of Kashmiri Pandits can happen at least in the next 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. It will take time. First, the priority of the government of India will have to be first to completely change the Kashmiri society. And that means to instill in them the confidence that they are Indian first. And the Indian laws are with them. The Indian constitution is with them. All the rights of any other Indian in any other part of the country are with them. And secondly, to crush terrorism completely. Now imagine Kashmiri Pandits on their own merit have stood up and been doing well in whatever field you pick up. I know a case of a friend of mine, Ajay Bindru, who was in a camp and now he's a millionaire in Dubai. He's doing so well on his own hard work. There are similarly thousands of studies. A friend of mine, Sunil Bhatt, who stayed in a camp for almost 2 decades, in an igloo style camp with 5 or 6 family members. And he did top in all his college life. And today he's the bureau chief of Aaj Tak in India Today. On his own merit, because of his own studies. So I believe that the government of India, firstly for the Kashmiri Pandits, needs to set up a commission of inquiry to bring in justice. If you speak about the return of Kashmiri Pandits, I think that needs to begin by justice. And that will only happen when the government of India or the Supreme Court of India initiate a commission of inquiry, a time-bound commission of inquiry that delivers justice to Kashmiri Indians, at least, maps and records history as to what happened in 1990, who were the victims, what really happened exactly, was it ethnic cleansing, was it genocide, what was it? And if you speak about the return and rehabilitation, if you speak about truth and reconciliation, that can only begin with justice. And justice cannot be merely by words or on paper. Justice has to be felt.
Right.
And when that justice is felt, automatically there will be beginning of truth and reconciliation and finally return and rehabilitation of Kashmiri Hindus.
And before I move on to the next question, if I could request a short answer from you on, do you think there can be a genuine reconciliation between the Kashmiri Pandits and the Kashmiri Muslims? Is there something which is stopping them? What is it like?
Honestly, I don't feel that reconciliation can happen, at least in the near future.
Okay.
And that's only because, in the last 35 years, I haven't seen a single massive Kashmiri Muslim protest asking for justice to be delivered to Kashmiri Pandits.
Okay.
I haven't seen a single protest by Mehbooba Mufti or Umar Abdullah or any of the political parties or Sajad Lone asking for terrorists like Yasin Malik, Betta Karate should be sent to the gallows. So there's no trust. There's a huge trust deficit. And that will only end when Kashmiri Muslims come together and say that yes, we were wrong. Some of us, not all, some of us did participate in killing of Kashmiri Pandits. Some of us remained mute spectators. Some of us were overground workers for terror groups like Hizbul Mujahideen and JKLF. And we believe it was a terrible mistake. You apologize, you demand justice, you seek death penalty for Yasin Malik, and that will be the biggest reconciliation that can happen between Pandits and Muslims.
We now move to your coverage on a lot of events that have changed the course of our national security and the strategic affairs. You covered Operation Sindoor, and I'm sure there was so much information flowing, and you had to, at one point of time, choose what to show, what not to show. But I want to genuinely know that when we talk about Pahalgam, I don't want to use the term intelligence failure, but can we say it's like it was a lag? And when Operation Sindoor finally takes place, how does the decision come about? Is it like the armed forces planning it? Or is it the intelligence planning it and handing it over to the armed forces that this is what is to be struck? But just structurally, how does it pan out when these decisions have to be made?
You know, Prateek, I'm in a catch-22.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe that it's an intelligence and a security failure for sure.
Okay.
You know, but at the same time, I'll tell you that I have seen the way the army and the police and the intelligence agencies operate in Jammu and Kashmir or elsewhere. It's not easy. I mean, It's not easy to man each and every location. I mean, there are lakhs and lakhs of Kashmiris or tourists who visit Kashmir. You can't man each and every location. I mean, they did have intelligence that in this particular forest, which is like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers long, there are a group of terrorists that are roaming around. There could be possibility of a terror attack, but you don't have specifics. And then with the use of the technology, I mean, there are Chinese, these headsets that are being used.
They're not tracked, right? Can you tell about those?
Yeah, it's called Ultra.
Ultra.
It's basically a Chinese device to which you connect a mobile phone and you can't detect it. You can send audio, video, and text through it.
So it's not a standalone device?
It's not a satellite phone, and it's not a mobile phone. It's somewhere in between.
Okay.
And you can't track it. There is a signal that comes in, but that signal is from 10 to 15 kilometers long.
Okay.
So you'll have to search in a forest.
Right.
If there is a signal which is saying that it is somewhere between 10 to 15 kilometers, how difficult it is to search in that area. Apart from this Ultra set, which the terrorists have been using for the last few years, there's an app called the Alpine app.
Alpine
app, which is Chinese, which is almost like Google Maps, but you don't need internet. You just store the data in it. And if a terrorist has to come from Muzaffarabad or Kotli to Pahalgam or other places, he can easily come through that using that entire Alpine app. So I think it was a security lapse for sure. And the government of the day, the security forces will look into it. They have been looking into it. Some of the terrorists have been killed. Some are probably on the run and would be killed in due course. But it's not easy. What we need to also understand is that dynamics have completely changed across the border. There was earlier an army chief, Bajwa, who again was not a saint, but did want to walk an extra mile. He wanted a ceasefire, which was achieved between India and Pakistan.
There was a back channel between Bajwa and...
There was a back channel that was underway. You could say it was Doval, you could say there was somebody else. But there was a back channel that was underway between India and Pakistan. And to a great extent, for the benefit of the local people in Jammu and Kashmir on both sides, it was achieved. A ceasefire helped them. But then comes the most radical of the all, Asim Munir, who I call Osama bin Laden wearing a black suit and tie. Asim Munir is the radical of the all. He is a Hafiz. That means he has memorized the Quran. And on the basis of Quran, he asks his soldiers of the Pakistan army to wage a jihad against India. I mean, he's been brainwashing his soldiers like anything. If you go through his videos, pre-Pahalgam terror attack. Also that particular video where he's addressing the Pakistanis and saying that we are different from Hindus and we need to wage this jihad. So it was an open clarion call by the top of the Pakistani establishment asking the proxy groups of the Pakistan Army and the ISI to conduct a terror attack like Pahalgam. And there was a commando of the Pakistan Army who was involved in the Pahalgam terror attack, who actually shot and took headshots of all the innocent
He was not
Indians.
a terrorist, he was a trained command.
He was a terrorist indeed,
Yes.
but he was a trained commander of
He
the
was a trained
Pakistan army.
commander.
I mean, today I don't feel much difference between a terrorist and the Pakistan army. I mean, Asim Munir is the mastermind of all terrorists. The Pahalgam terror attack, you would say, is the handiwork of the Lashkar-e-Toiba. I would say it's the handiwork of the Pakistan army, and Asim Munir is the mastermind, not Hafiz Saeed or Zakir Rahman Lakwi. I mean, we need to make this very much clear. Today, Asim Munir might be having a lunch with Trump, might be invited to CENTCOM commanders farewell, might be threatening India with a nuclear threat from the US soil, which is a first in many, many decades. So that's okay, but the reality won't change. I mean, Americans have a habit of whitewashing people. They whitewash the Taliban, where Sirajuddin Haqqani was given space in the New York Times to write an editorial, where the Syrian leader is now wining and dining with them. He was the most wanted. Sirajuddin Haqqani was the most wanted. So for Americans, it's very much clear. Whatever suits the US foreign policy, whatever suits the US approach of the day will happen. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about the rules of engagement. They don't care about the new international order. They might give Chinese a lesson or two and lecture them on the rules-based order. But when it comes to Pakistan, what's the rules-based order for America, or for that matter, Canada, when it comes to Khalistani terrorists? So I believe that, I think we need to be very watchful. Even today, while I'm speaking, there's been a terror attack that has happened in Uri of North Kashmir. There's been a BAT action, which is a border action of the Pakistan army and the terrorists together, in which they come to mutilate, Indian soldiers. So one Indian soldier has died. And going by what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, that if there is a single terror attack on Indian soil, it will be considered as an act of war. So we'll have to wait and watch how the Indian army or the Indian security forces react to this.
So before we discuss your perspective on the American policy making, yes, Operation Sindoor has deterred the adversary, but at the same time, do you think they are still finding the space to inflict damage on the Indian forces? What was in your coverage and in your personal interactions across the border? Were the Pakistanis deterred? Were they scared? How did they react when Operation Sindoor took place? Was there a fog of what exactly happened in the first 2-3 days, if you could share?
Firstly, there's no deterrence.
There's no deterrence.
There's no deterrence. Why? Indian army would apply the best of weapons, the best of strategy, the best of their might to deter the Pakistanis. But how will you deter someone who has nothing to lose? Even if 10,000 Pakistani soldiers die today in a suicide bombing or in an attack by India, they have 10,000 more ready to die. I mean, they don't care. I mean, this is the same Pakistan army that I'm talking about, which faces killings and deaths every single day in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, but does not come out with a statement. They do not come out paying tribute to the Pakistani soldiers who die, be it of the Pakistan Army or the Frontier Corps or their police. Have you seen any funerals where a salute is given to the Pakistani soldiers in any of the national channels of Pakistan? No, because they are afraid. They don't want the morale of the Pakistani society to come down. So one of the biggest reasons that Asim Munir did what he did in Pahalgam was to initiate a military confrontation and to unite the Pakistani public behind the Pakistan army. He had lost control. If you had seen approval ratings, they were mainly 20 to 30% for the Pakistan army because of Imran Khan. And suddenly after Pahalgam and military confrontation, it has moved to 75 to 80%. That was the ultimate aim of the Pakistan army. On one hand, they want to latch on to China. On the other hand, they want to get back the US in their command, because US can directly keep a watch on both Iran, Afghanistan and China. And the Chinese have a route to the entire area through Pakistan, and of course have already so much investment that they can't even take their hands back.
And let me just add on to that. Despite all of that, why has still, despite the proof being there, despite the US State Department describing or profiling the attackers as a designated terrorist group, why has still General Asim Munir been able to cozy up to the US? What exactly is going on in the American policy making? Is Mr. Trump listening to his advisors, or is he not? Like, why is he acting the way he is?
There are multiple things that have happened. Firstly, Trump almost 40 or more times has said that it was the US which mediated and brought the ceasefire between India and Pakistan.
Yes.
He says that there would have been a nuclear war and he has stopped the nuclear war between India and Pakistan, which is absolutely bullshit.
Okay.
I mean, the Americans did come in to save Pakistan. And when the Americans told India that you need to have a ceasefire, India said that if Pakistan comes to us requesting for a ceasefire, we'll consider. And then the Pakistani DGMO dialed India. And that's also a long story that the telephone did not work. So at 1 p.m. we made that call. From our side, the telephone was working. From their side, there was some technical snag. And finally, between 3 or 3:30, there was another round of calls that were made by the DGMO. And India agreed to a ceasefire by 5 p.m. So there was no American intervention to stop this war as such. And I would go on to say that the Americans are wearing blinkers when it comes to Pakistan-sponsored terror. I mean, you look at the FTO, the sanctions list of the Americans, in which for years together, there's been name of Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hizbul Mujahideen. Why has there been no action? Look at the 26/11 attacks in 2008, where Americans were killed as well. Where is the justice? It's been years and years. Now, to bring in a false equivalence, a few weeks ago, Americans banned TRF as part of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, a Pakistani terror organization. And now, just few days ago, the Americans have banned the Baloch Liberation Organization, not the BLA. The BLA was banned in 2019. But the Majid Brigade, the suicide squad of the BLA, has been banned. Now, there's a false equivalence that's being brought in. The BLA is fighting a freedom struggle, an armed freedom struggle, but only in Balochistan and only against the Pakistan army. And of course, the Chinese, if they come in to support the Pakistan army. They don't have anything to do with other terror organizations throughout the world. They don't have anything to do with Islamist groups like, Lashkar-e-Toiba or Taliban or any other. Then how are they part of the FTO? So there's a false equivalence being brought between TRF and Majid Brigade, between Lashkar-e-Toiba and BLA. The BLA is fighting a just war because, the Pakistanis have occupied Balochistan for a very long time. They are ruining the natural resources. They are occupying the Gwadar port. They are occupying the Sui gas fields, etc. And that's why there is a rebellion. And there's a peaceful rebellion and there's a violent rebellion. The peaceful rebellion led by Maharang Baloch and all others. She's in jail. She's languishing in jail. There's no justice. The world community, the Western press, the international human rights organizations do not say a word about Maharang Baloch or, for the Lashkar-e-Toiba terror organization. So this is the kind of duplicity and hypocrisy that's come in the American way of thinking. And what happened is that during the G7 summit, when Modi and Trump had to meet, it couldn't happen. They had a phone call for 35 minutes in which the Trump requested Modi that you please come to Washington, D.C. and we have a photo op with Asim Munir. And Modi refused to do so. When Modi refused to do so, Trump took it as an insult. And he thought that while I have done everything possible for a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, and I wanted credit for it, I wanted India and Pakistan both together to nominate me for the Nobel Peace Prize and do this photo op. How dare Modi refuse it? So that's why is trickling this trouble. And of course, there are a host of other reasons.
So you are saying that because Prime Minister Modi has not allowed Mr. Trump to claim things in a way that would nominate him, make him a nominee for a Nobel Prize, that is one of the main causes for his anger.
Of course. I mean, he's a childish bully. I mean, he's a deal maker. I gave him credit for that. He, of course, does not want a war. I also gave him credit for it because if you go by his first term, he tried his best not to have a war, not to have an escalation, not to have any kind of a conflict, but to, push in people. And in the last 6 months, he hasn't achieved anything in the Russia-Ukraine war or the Israel-Hamas conflict. So I think Trump was desperate. Trump thought that when he does a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, both India and Pakistan will come together and thank him and, kiss him and, do a lot of song and dance. And that did not happen, and that is deeply troubling with him. And he is just frustrated that how can India stand up to a bully?
I'm moving to the concluding few questions now. You went to Israel of late, you're just back from Israel. You personally met Mr. Netanyahu. What exactly are the Israelis thinking, and what are they planning regarding the West Asian region? What are their policy towards the Palestinians at the moment?
See, one thing is very clear, and this is not just from the interaction that I've had with Bibi Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, but with countless Israelis, from policy to government to NGOs to even the IDF. One thing is very clear, that they will not rest. I mean, the IDF and the Israeli government will not rest until they completely destroy and annihilate Hamas. So they want to create a new reality in Gaza. They have tried different models in the past. In 2005-06, when they vacated Gaza and they let the government form, but then the Hamas took control, and the Palestinian Authority had no say at all. So now they want to create this new reality in Gaza, where a non-Israeli civilian establishment takes control, a civilian agency takes control, which has no Israeli role. But that non-Israeli civilian agency cannot be of Hamas or Palestinian Authority. But the Israelis will give a defense parameter and a security to this entire area. How will this happen? Only God knows. But as of now, it's a reality that the Hamas is still strong. The Hamas is still active. They have a few thousand terrorists and commanders still in action in Gaza. So it does seem that the bloodshed is going to continue. There's a new offensive of Israel that is going to begin in that entire area. We also know that there are 50 hostages that remain there. Out of them, 20 are alive. We also know that there is a Hindu hostage named Vipin Joshi, who is a Nepalese, who is still there. I don't know why. Both India and Nepal haven't done much, unfortunately, for him. But he remains there, as do the 50 others, 20 of them alive. And Israel is, of course, doing whatever is possible. And I've seen something very interesting. Even those people who oppose Netanyahu, even those people who are critical to Netanyahu, do support that the Hamas should be completely destroyed. So even those who say that there should be a peace deal or the return of hostages, they feel that the government and the IDF should go after, the Hamas.
So you are saying at the moment Hamas has not been destroyed, and but where do they draw the line? Because we see a lot of news on the civilian casualties, and do they have to draw a line, or they feel it's very difficult to segregate?
When it comes to India, I would say that India from the very beginning has been very clear. We believe in a negotiated two-state solution. We believe that both Israel and Palestine have a right to stay, have the right to live next to each other. And I have seen personally, because I have interviewed both the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, that India is a very firm strategic partner of Israel. We have a very robust mechanism of defense, intelligence sharing, and technological partnership. Apart from that, agriculture, water management, and whatnot. But at the same time, we were the first to give relief to the civilians of Palestine and Gaza when the war erupted. So I think India is very much clear that we do not believe in terrorism. We stand against terrorism. We do not believe in Hamas. You saw the Indian Army chief also speak about Hamas very recently. That was the first again. But at the same time, we believe in diplomacy and dialogue. We don't want the war to continue. But I, unfortunately, now believe that Israel is fighting a battle of survival. They've done whatever is possible in the past. They're a small nation. There's a small population. So I think they will not rest until the Hamas is completely destroyed. There's been a catastrophe completely of thousands and thousands of people dying. But the Israelis say that Hamas is using people as shield. They've been trying to snatch the humanitarian aid that's coming in. They've been building terror tunnels below the schools, below the UN centers and below the hospitals. And that certainly cannot be tolerated. And the Americans stand along with Israel on this. But at the same time, there are pressure tactics from other groups, where France, UK and Australia are now saying that they will be giving a legitimacy to the state of Palestine as soon as next month when the UN General Assembly meets. So I think we haven't heard the last of it. While there is a talk of a 5-point plan that Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken about for Gaza, I still believe it will take a few months before a permanent pause in violence and confrontation in Gaza.
My last concluding questions, and that's where we wanted to pick your brains. You did a lot of interesting coverage on how our intelligence capabilities are evolving. We are hearing a lot about unknown gunmen and so many cross-border episodes with plausible deniability that are taking place. At the moment, can you say that the RAW is becoming like Mossad? Is it becoming like a killing machine, or has it already been like this? It was just a matter of knowing what they do. Just your thoughts on.
Firstly, I'll say that it's unfair to compare intelligence organizations.
Okay.
I mean, Mossad, CIA, RNAW,
Right.
even ISI for that matter, they are known for their own strengths. I think whatever they do, if it's being discussed, if it's being talked about, if it's becoming a story that everybody is trying to narrate, then of course they're successful.
Yes.
True. If you spoke about the unknown gunmen,
yes.
I remember a story when I was sitting in my office in March 22, and suddenly somebody called me and said that a carpenter has been killed in Karachi. And so I said, so he said, no, check. So I checked, and he gave me a name, Zahur Mistry. And I checked, and there was no news anywhere. So I called my friends in Pakistan who were in media, and I told them that on this day, at this time, has there been a killing? And they said, yes, we'll send you some visuals, etc. But we have been asked by the local police and the army not to cover it.
Okay.
So I said, but why? He said, no reason has been given. Then I checked the video and the photos, etc. that I received. And I searched who is Zahur Mistry. And I realized that Zahur Mistry was one of the hijackers of the IC-814 that was hijacked from Nepal. And in return for the hostages, which Ajit Doval was one of the negotiators,
Right.
we had to release the later who became the chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed, Masood Azhar, and also 2 other dreaded terrorists. So when Zahur Mistry was killed, there were 2 people who came on a bike, killed in point blank range and escaped. Nobody till date knows who were these men, the unknown gunmen. So I would ask you to wait a few more weeks and wait for a film called Dhurandhar, where I am a consultant on the story, and which is on the unknown gunmen, which gives you an entire depiction of what really happens when India's agencies are in action. So Ranveer Singh is one of the actors. There's Sanjay Dutt, there's R. Madhavan, there's Akshay Khanna, and there are a lot of others. So I think this movie, just like Uri did, or back in the day, just like Border did, will create a huge buzz and will give another plot and another dimension to the Indian public, which is completely unheard of.
So to rephrase it, can we say that a lot of episodes or a lot of things in the upcoming film will also close happened? See, glamorous.
I'm not at liberty to say. Say that the expectation of the public after will be complete, and whatever they want to and watch there, and it is not only a commercial for people to whistle and clap. It's also proud of. It's also something to be proud of, that what India is capable of. And this is global cinema. We normally say Bollywood, just a copy of Hollywood. But I say it's Hindi cinema. I say that this is Indian cinema which is arriving on the global stage. And lastly, when you ask me about the Indian agencies, the RNAW, the Mossad, the Mossad took a call after 7th October 2023 that whoever was responsible for the conspiracy, we will hunt them down in the next 1 year. And they did that. They went to kill the chiefs of the Hezbollah.
Right.
They went to kill the chiefs of Hamas. From Yahya Sinwar to all others were completely eliminated, be it in Gaza, be it in Lebanon, be it in Tehran. And they made it a reality. And I tell you, Pratik, today, that if the Indian agencies want, they can eliminate Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar within minutes.
My concluding question, what is stopping them from eliminating both of them?
Firstly, India is not Israel.
Okay.
Secondly, India believes in its own, civilizational values, its own democratic principles. There is a limit to what we can go. But as I said, that India will not provoke a war. India will not instigate violence. But if they try to mess with us, if they try to continuously poke their nose and continuously push the Pakistani terrorism against us, Indians will not look the other way. And you say why we are not doing so? We are not doing so because we still feel that there can be an amicable solution. If there is no solution, nothing can stop India. It did the Indus Water Treaty into abeyance, and it is something that should have happened 2 decades ago. The Indus Water Treaty dams will be constructed now over the next 2 years, and that's why you see from Shehbaz Sharif to Asim Munir to Bilawal Bhutto to Khwaja Asif, everybody is panicking and they are issuing threats against India on the Indus water, the nuclear threats, etc. That's not going to work. If Indian government has taken a stand and then the J&K Chief Minister Omar Abdullah is supporting us, then of course the government of India will take a call, will do everything possible in national interest and stop the Indus water. And it's not limited to Indus water. If they have to eliminate Hafiz Saeed, if they have to eliminate Masood Azhar, if they have to eliminate Syed Salahuddin, that can also happen.
Thank you so much for your perspectives, your time, and the intricate details you shared today. Thank you so much, Aditya. And we wish you all the best for your new journey.
Thank you.
Which you'll be announcing soon.
Thank you very much.
Please stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. And please like and subscribe Jan Man Gan. Thank you so much.